The Nazi war machine required the entire nation's effort. Factories were built all across Germany and its conquered lands, mostly using forced labor. Hidden all around the forests outside the city of Augsburg were dozens of sites that developed the Third Reich's weapons of mass destruction. Explosives, chemical agents, wonder weapons like the first fighter jet. These sites would be where Hitler would construct the objects that would destroy. Millions of shells sent at the enemy would detonate with hexogen as the explosive compound, all developed here at Fasan II. The threat of chemical weapons attacks would be backed by the production of Tabun at the Z-Hiag chemical weapons factory. With the invasion of Poland in 1939, German citizens were thrown into high gear supporting the war effort by any means possible. Augsburg's location here kept it relatively safe from both the eastern and western fronts, with two large cities on either side of it, the neutral Swiss and the friendly Italians to the south, and miles of defenses between it and anyone who may be able to attack it. This doesn't mean that massive, sprawling factories would be built, though, far from it. This would be reckless, especially when you are assembling explosives, chemical agents, and munitions. These sites would have a decentralized, dispersed campus. Small buildings would each have a niche portion of the overall design of the product. This would prevent an accident or an attack from consuming the entirety of the production line. Losing one building would be a minor setback, a momentary delay. Losing a means at developing a crucial component that was essential to the fight could cost them the war. To the south of Augsburg sits the small town of Bobingen. It was here, at sites Fasan I and Fasan II, that massive amounts of hexogen explosive compound was manufactured. Germany produced 7,100 tons of it per month, and the Fasan complex was a key contributor, providing 300 tons per month. On either side of the Wertach River, a total of 90 buildings supported the production. On the east side of the river was Fasan I, of which almost nothing remains, and what does is on private property. 65 buildings sat on that side of the river. Here on the west side was Fasan II, where 25 buildings were situated in the forest. Of the 25 buildings of Fasan II, some remnants survive today, specifically the factory hall. The company, Dynamite AG, ran the enterprise, distributing the evolution of the hexogen across these dozens of buildings, scattered amongst the forest. Dynamite AG was founded by none other than Alfred Nobel, namesake of the Nobel Peace Prize, an inventor of dynamite. Small roads and rails connected the buildings in a sort of exterior production line. This maintained the spacing necessary to prevent any possible chain reactions should one of the buildings catch fire, have a detonation, or be struck during an attack. This distribution also concealed the goals of the factory. Any reconnaissance aircraft flying overhead would have a difficult time understanding what all of these apparently random buildings were doing distributed throughout the forest. These structures were strikingly odd, which added to their camouflage, and that disguise kept them safe. Hexogen would be widely used by the Luftwaffe in its Mark 108 cannon shells, as well as in the R4M air-to-air rocket, as well as in many other applications. It is still used widely today in the form of C4 plastic explosive, as well as Semtex. To the west of Augsburg sat the Z-Hiag chemical plant. Many of these buildings at the facility still stand today, though they are all still behind miles of barbed wire fence built during the war years. The chemical plant was a secret facility, built on land appropriated from the town of Hegnenbach nearby. Slave labor was used to build and man the structures here, which produced a multitude of mostly liquid products. These included methanol, sulfuric acid, and it eventually developed into a site that made Paraxol, which was the raw fuel used for both the V-1 and the V-2 rockets, another one of Hitler's wunderweapons. Z-Hiag was also a site where the Third Reich developed Tabun, which is a chemical used in chemical weapons warfare. Chemical attacks were widely used by both sides during World War I, but hadn't been utilized in conventional fighting in World War II. Tabun, as well as a multitude of other agents, were still heavily produced, though, in the event that things regress back to the tactics of World War I. The campus here shows how many of the secret compounds may have looked at the time, with a multitude of two-story brick buildings dispersed amongst the trees. Most were built with forced labor of prisoners from nearby concentration camps. Many more would be used as free labor for the factories they constructed. Last but not least, near Z-Hiag was the Kuno II assembly plant. Final assembly of the Messerschmitt 262, the first jet-powered fighter aircraft in the world, happened right here in these woods. While most of the parts and pieces of the jet were constructed elsewhere, the final assembly would be conducted at Kuno II. Very little remains of the plant having been ravaged by Allied air raids, the invading Americans looking to expose its secrets, and the never-ending reclamation of nature. Obviously, as the war came to a close, these sites were going to suffer, no matter how much Germany attempted to disguise or protect them. Allied bombings crept closer until they were literally striking the plants themselves. The more reconnaissance, information, and data collected on high-value targets, the more likely that these high-value targets would become, well, targets. The area from Stuttgart to Munich was smattered with all sorts of infrastructure that supported the Reich, and the sooner the Allies could disrupt that support, the better. A vast majority would be destroyed either from the air or on the ground by the invading Americans and other allies. Few, like the former Z-Hiag plant, would be repurposed for both government and civilian business. Even those still in operation bear the scars of the defensive network laid out to protect them from what would become the inevitable. All told, these were just 3 of what was literally thousands of factories, plants, laboratories, mills, shops, foundries, mines, wells, warehouses, and acres and miles of logistical networking. In roughly a decade's time, their existence went from plan to blueprint, blueprint to construction, and construction to operation, and operation to destruction. The vast majority would utilize forced labor, slave labor, honestly, literally working men and women to death. One man who did manage to escape death from one of these plants, though, was Hitler. During the trial at Nuremberg, Albert Speer, the Minister of Armament and War Production, claimed he intended to assassinate his boss using Tabun, introducing it to the air system of the Führer bunker. He quite obviously failed, but it definitely made for a good story to help support his attempt at portraying himself as a self-professed good Nazi. Bit of an oxymoron, that guy. Regarding the Messerschmitt 262, though, the final assembly took place at Kuno II, but the Germans had massive aspirations for their Wunderjet. In fact, an enormous barrel vault bunker was being built east of Munich, known as Weingut I, or Weingut I. Built to be camouflaged from the sky, and with 9 stories of excavation underneath, it would house the entire assembly to mass produce the new fighter jet. You can check out this video here, where I explore the bunker that was meant to bring the Third Reich into the jet age.